Hey everybody, welcome. Today we are going to look at the 7 signs that your manuscript may not be ready for a beta reading. Beta readers are simply readers who represent your ideal reader. In other words, these are people who read your genre regularly, they understand what's expected of this genre, and they're going to give you their honest impressions of how your story is landing with them. Beta readers are not editors, they are not professionals. They don't necessarily concern themselves with marketplace issues. They don't necessarily look at story structure from a very deep foundational level. They are there to let you know what they liked and what they didn't like about your story. They are a really important part of your editorial process. But it's essential that we invite our beta readers in at exactly the right moment. So today we are going to look at 7 indicators that your manuscript is not ready for a beta reading just yet. Please stick around because if you decide at the end of this video that you are not yet ready for a beta reader, I have a gift that you can download that will give you a chance to think about your story in new ways. It will help you revise scene by scene the parts of your story that aren't quite landing yet, and that can get you ready to share your story with a beta reader. Okay, so let's take a look. So thoughtful self-editing should always come before we go seeking outside feedback. Beta readers are not there to tell us how to revise. That's the job of a developmental editor, a coach, but a beta reader, that's not what they've signed up for. They are simply revealing how your current revision is landing with them. So they're going to give you answers like, this part was boring, or I didn't really like this character, or believe that these two characters loved each other. They aren't going to be able necessarily to show you how to indicate that these two characters love each other. That's your job and possibly the job of a developmental editor later on. Sign 1. You're still asking foundational questions. In other words, questions that we absolutely need to answer in order to ensure that our story's structure is working. Those kinds of questions can include, where does my story begin? This is one of the hardest questions to answer, really. I work with a lot of writers to answer this question definitively, and that's because stories have multiple entry points. There's lots of different ways to start a story, but you want to make sure you are starting your story at the place that's going to really engage readers most of all. If you're still wondering if you've begun at that place, that may be a signal you want to look a little deeper. Whose story is this? Who is your story really about? What point of view is going to work best to tell this story? Does the subplot belong? What is this book really about? These are questions that ideally you have answered before you start to share the story with someone else. That way, if your beta reader says, who is this story really about? I couldn't tell. You know that has not landed with the reader, and you know that you need to go back and fix that. It's much more difficult if your beta reader asks you who your story is about and you don't know yourself. Sign number 2, you are still revising while you read. And I don't mean you're polishing a word here or there. We're never going to go through our manuscript without doing that. It's just what we do as writers. I mean that every chapter is producing this aha moment or major realization you haven't considered before. Like, I think chapter 3 should become chapter 1, or I need a different ending, or this character should really just go away. These are huge observations and they're exciting. They're not indicators that there's a problem. It's just an indicator that you are still learning your story. You are still in a meaningful, deep revision period. So you keep revising, you get those points tighter, and then you bring them to your beta reader. Sign number 3, you're hoping somebody else will diagnose the manuscript. If you already think that the pacing is dragging, or the stakes are disappearing, or the middle sags, or your ending feels rushed, right? These are all observations that we start to make as we get deeper into our revision process. If you are feeling those nagging doubts, really try to investigate those questions first yourself. The better handle you have on these kinds of issues, the more valuable the beta reader is going to be, because they're going to really be your checks and balances. Did you achieve what you were trying to do? We can't really expect that we are going to get, I mean, I want to make an exception here. Some of us have amazing beta readers, and we really do get information that can help us reach a better conclusion. But That's luck. And most often we really want to make sure that we, the artist, has kind of come to um, has taken this questioning as far as we can before we start involving somebody else in the story. If you haven't formed a revision hypothesis, that's another sign you may not be ready for a beta reader. As a professional editor, I never just look at a story and start reading without very specific questions posed. I'm asking myself, what do I believe is working in this story? What is not working? What doesn't feel believable in this story? I'm asking all sorts of different questions. So as you are doing revision, you too want to be asking very specific questions about your story. That's going to give you a much more comprehensive revision experience because specific questions produce specific answers. So if you haven't read your manuscript with very important questions that editors ask, you may not be ready for a beta read. Sign number 5, you are asking readers to notice what you could have noticed. So repeated information, missing transitions, inconsistent timelines, scene goals that drift, character names that are changing, that kind of just general messy stuff. Now, beta readers are going to still catch stuff that we miss. That's okay. But the cleaner copy you can give your beta reader, the better results you're going to have. It's a nice courtesy to your reader. It makes sure they don't get exhausted on things that you could have fixed beforehand. And that's going to give them the energy to give you more substantive, helpful feedback. Sign number 6, you want validation more than insight. A beta reader's job is to reveal the gap between your intention and your execution. And that is huge. I want you to really think about that. This information is invaluable. Your beta reader is giving you something that you really need. You really need to understand if the story you had up in your head wound up on the pages of your story. And so we want to make sure that we are really providing them with a space to give us that feedback, even if it's not the feedback we necessarily want to hear. If we're looking for validation, if we're just looking to share something that we feel really excited about, that can be a great thing to do inside a writer's circle where people are not where people are not providing feedback, but they're kind of more there just to listen and to encourage. Um, that's a great opportunity for your sister to give you a listen, somebody who's just, your greatest fan. But for a beta reader, really take advantage of this opportunity to get some thoughtful critique that you can use. Sign number 7, you think more readers means better feedback. 10 conflicting opinions is only going to give you a headache. It's not going to provide you with the kind of clarity, the kind of understanding that a good beta read can. So this is where we really want to make sure that we're asking our ideal reader. In other words, the person that you intend this story to be for. And what will happen is if you've picked the right beta readers and they understand how your genre works from a layperson's perspective, what you'll start to see is that you're not getting advice from all over the place. You're not getting people who are saying your plot is believable, your plot is not believable. You're going to start to see patterns. The different readers are going to have similar types of feedback. And that's a good indication that the feedback is helpful and something to probably lean into, as this is going to be much more helpful than sharing your story with everyone you know and getting all kinds of different feedback that doesn't really align and just further confuses you. The writer, you, are going to be the final interpreter of how this story needs to be told. And so lots of different opinions coming from lots of different places is ultimately not as helpful as it could be. So your pathway forward is you take that draft and you work through your own self-editing. If you are interested in learning more about self-editing and an efficient way to go about doing it, I really would love if you would check out my self-editing essentials program. This is group coaching for fiction and memoir writers who are almost finished or finished writing their manuscript and are ready to learn these fundamental steps of self-editing. I'll have information in the comments section. After you have done your self-editing, that's when you want to go ahead and share your work with beta readers. After that, you are going to take the information you've gotten from your beta readers and start to incorporate those edits that you agree with into your story. Then, if you choose to, you can go ahead with a developmental edit. This is where you take your manuscript to a professional editor and they look at all of those structural issues in your manuscript to make sure that they are the best they can be. From there, line editing, some developmental editors will also do line editing as part of their package. And then finally, if you are self-publishing, you're going to want to make sure that you have some good copy editing done for your manuscript. This is not so important if you are publishing traditionally because there will be a copy editor in working for the publisher and they can take care of that for you. Thank you so much for watching. If this was helpful, please hit subscribe and like, and I drop more videos every week, just like this one. But I also want to give you that gift that I mentioned at the beginning. This is the Scene Builder template, and these are a series of templates that will help you turn your ideas into vivid story scenes. This is a great resource if you're just starting your book, but it is also fantastic if you are in a revision process right now and you are looking at ways to make sure that your scenes are tight enough, that they're really helping to build narrative momentum for your story. Got lots of ideas in here. I hope you'll take advantage. I will stick a link to this in the comments section. And I'd also like to again remind you of Self-Editing Essentials. This is my group coaching program. It is an amazing, amazing resource. I love being part of this. If you want to learn more information, you can use that QR code right there, or you can grab the link in the comments section. I would love to talk more about this opportunity with you. Check it out. And finally, join me for a story circle. This is my free weekly writing sprint. We get together every Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time to write together for an hour. I find this is one of the most powerful writing hours of my week. We really get a lot done. It's completely free. It's a wonderful community of people. So please join us anytime. I will also have a link in the comments section if you would like to learn more. All right, everybody, happy writing.